Bitcoin broke to new all-time highs up to about $124,600. We also saw Ethereum just tickling that all-time high, almost there, but not quite yet. We're seeing a bit of a pullback. We're going to talk about exactly why. If you're watching this as a short, click on the link on the video and you can see the entire length of this video because we've got some major impacts right now because we're also seeing the total three, the breakout we talked about of this inverse head and shoulders. It's broken down. It's done, right? Well, all I'm seeing is a retest of the point from which it broke out of. So stay tuned, hit the like button, subscribe to make sure that you stay on the right side of the trend with us here at BitLab Academy. We're going to be diving into this, all this and more. So hold on to your butts because the market is still setting up for ultimate rippage. Let's go.
Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. Bitcoin, pump, altcoins, pump. I've been preparing for this. Can't nobody tell me nothing. SEC and its policies rely on whatever Gary thinks. Bitcoin to flight to quality. I heard that from Larry Fink. Every hour losing purchasing power on foolish out there. It's not our fault. Blame the cult. It's the political cowards when it comes to that.
The bull market is over. The day after we just hit all-time highs, you are out of your mind if you're thinking that because the data is still suggesting we have so much higher to go. And in order to do that, in every single bull trend in any asset you've ever seen, a bull trend is comprised of rise, retrace, continuation. Unfortunately, the majority of people, the overwhelming majority of people, they get lost in their emotions in that retrace and they think it's over, so they jump out of position. And some of you might have just bought the top because you thought it was about to continue up, and then you sell on the smallest bit of a retrace. This is not what you do if you want to win, not just in Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any of your favorite altcoins, but any asset you're trading. You need to have the conviction on retraces. If the data, the overwhelming midterm and long-term data is still suggesting upside, you take advantage of those retraces as dip buying opportunities. So welcome to the show, everybody. We're about to get into it. We've got a lot of charts that I think is going to bring a lot of confidence to what you're looking at right now. So while we did just get a Bitcoin all-time high last night, we did a spaces over on the Mario Nafal channel with me and Drew and a bunch of other folks talking about the price action. You know, I'm still very confident that we have a long ways to go to the upside. We're going to talk exactly about why I think the market's pulling back right now, where we can find these dip buying opportunities in Bitcoin, Ethereum, and your other favorite assets out here in the crypto ecosystem, and what we can expect into the next couple months, because the data is clear. There is not a top in sight right now. Could we get a larger pullback? Sure, but that larger pullback can be realistically translated as you get better opportunities to buy. Unfortunately, the large majority of people are going to end up losing out because they get triggered by the fear of the pullback, only to sell to have the market absolutely boom after they finally capitulate. So let's dive into it. We got a number of people in here, about 1,000 people in the room. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the stream. If this is your first time, I can guarantee it's not going to be your last time. My name's Kellam here with BitLab Academy. Shout out to our channel partners, Bitcoin IRA, which you see right up here. You can find more information on them at bitcoinira.com. And of course, Arculus. There's never a bad time. It's actually a bad time if you don't take advantage of getting your cold storage solution. Get a cold wallet, meaning not an app on your phone, not a plugin on your browser. Get a cold storage wallet. Protect your crypto so you can protect your future. And it's my opinion that Arculus is among, if not the best crypto cold storage solution out there. Head over to getarculus.com, spelled just like that, ARCULUS. Getarculus.com. Use code BitLab, BITLAB 20, BitLab 20 for 20% off. Now let's talk about this because we're getting a little bit of a pullback and people are losing their minds. But I'm here to be your therapeutic support system today because I look at all the data and I am not seeing indications or larger, broader intentions from the major market players for this to be a cycle top. We just had a large move right up until $124,600. Ethereum pushed up to a little bit over $4,700, not breaking through its all-time high, which would be about $4,850. And people are losing their minds that we're getting a little bit of a pullback. Well, there are some reasons why, and I'm sure you might have seen them on other channels, but we're going to dig a little bit deeper. We're going to talk about this and identify these levels. For those of you that have been paying attention, that are members at the BitLab Discover Crypto Blockchain Basement, our joined massive supergroup Discord. That link is pinned in the top of the live chat there on YouTube. I believe it's also pinned in the top of the live chat over on Rumble. If you're watching on X, shout out to you, but make sure you're coming over and following us. Make sure you're following us in different places, because sometimes our accounts, get banned or shadow or deleted, in this weird world of social media. So make sure you're following us over here on YouTube or on Rumble. And all the information and links to join, to get involved with what we're doing, is in the description of these videos. So big love to all of you. I did a member stream on Tuesday, and I'm doing another member stream today. If you are a BitLab Academy YouTube, if you're a member of the YouTube channel, not just subscribed, but a member, it's about $1.25 a week. You will get access to that member stream, which is at 3 p.m. Eastern time today. I'm just going to advise you, I'm telling you the secret right now, even if you're not a member, make sure you look down below this video. It says subscribed, or it looks like this, and you hit that join button and you become a member. And if you don't have the courage to spend $1.25 to help support what we're doing, then turn on your notifications. This little thing right there, put it on to all. And I'm just going to show you where it's going to be. The link is going to be right here posted in the post. It might say comments, but this is where it's going to be posted. And you'll get that link. And I'm going to put it to public for the first 5 minutes. And then I'll delete that public link. And those of you that are already in there will get access. I'm just want to show you guys what we're doing. How low will we go, bro? Says Crypto Life. Well, we're going to be breaking this down here in just a moment. But everybody take a moment, look down below. Are you subscribed? We're up to about 61,000 subscribers here, but members, we've only got about 50 or 60 members in here, which is super cheap. And you get access to our much more expensive Discord with the member content that I specifically do. I'm sharing with the members of the BitLab YouTube membership. So let's get into it, because we got a lot of things to cover today, and we're still seeing some really wonderful things in the market, even with the crash. It's crashing. We topped. Let's stop being babies. Okay. Markets have impulses to the upside, and they have movements back to the downside. And this is normal bull market behavior. Let's say this again. When we're looking at a price action and on any asset, and you see it making moves to the upside, let's say it together. Bull trends have pullbacks. And so long as these pullbacks have higher lows, you are still very much in a bull trend. And this can be on any time frame cycle that you're looking at. So seeing the alts here, everything, this is total three, the total three, everything in the crypto market, subtracting Bitcoin, subtracting ETH. So all your alts, beautiful bullish reversal indicator here. The bears really tried to bring it down. We got the breakout. And what did I talk about the last 3 days? Watching for a pullback to retest this zone. Now look at where we bounce, almost exactly on that neckline that we've had drawn out already. Had you been paying attention here, and you're really taking this data to heart, then the move down doesn't surprise, shock, or put you in an emotional state that you're going to capitulate. Now, this gets a little different, and it still will be very bullish. If this loses this, it could be a bear trap. We want to see what happens on this. If this confirms this by getting rejected there and continuing down, or if this is truly a bear trap and it comes back up and launches like this. Let every day, every candle on 4 hour, 1 hour, 3 day, 4 hour, 1 day, 3 day candles, they tell you a story about what the motivation and what the intentions of the market are, taking advantage of emotional traders. If you're aware of that, then you don't get taken advantage of. You can effectively navigate, the market. So let's go through some of these things, because we got some major things going on. Now, yesterday, on a day where Bitcoin broke the all-time highs, recognize the power of this chart. Although this has nothing to do with Bitcoin, this has everything to do with Bitcoin. This is one of the most major reasonings behind the development and the launch of Bitcoin, which is government policy, monetary policy malfeasance. Bad policy that is basically just there with the Federal Reserve to support central banks and major corporate players that pay into it. Okay. On the day where Bitcoin broke all-time highs, the US dollar's value in terms of how much you can buy with your dollar is trending at or near or below, basically hitting all-time lows week over week. Because inflation, so long as inflation is pervasive, so long as they're printing more money, the buying power of the dollar goes lower. So Bitcoin's at all-time highs. US dollar is only set to trend down from here. This is going to be a continued trend. Plan accordingly. This is why Bitcoin is so important. So is Bitcoin really high at 118, 125, even $200,000? I would argue no. There is no price point at which Bitcoin is too high until they stop money printing, they end the Fed, and which is not going to happen. There's always going to be money printing. That is the nature of fiat currency, debasement. Bitcoin captures that flaw. So on today, where you're seeing a market pull back a little bit, celebrate the opportunity to buy discounted coins. That's what I'm trying to get through your head, everybody. Now, let me go ahead and go through some of these comments we got in here. We got people chatting today from X. Thank you. Those of you tuned in on X, I love seeing you get active in the live chat here. I can see what you're saying. Ugin Sky, Higher Sense, how you doing? Crypto Live, Jay Holla, how you doing? Crypto Crank 125 top forever, says Crypto Crank. I don't think that would be the case. Brian Wild, how you doing? Granny's Garden, Green Day Profits, how you doing? Jacob Huffman, Fibonacci's. Where didn't it used to be Fibonacci's and Guac? What happened to the second half? Kenny Carnial, that guy, K-Jam. We got the crew here. Palm Beach Peter, how you doing? Let's go ahead and dive into what we want to look at today, because this is a story. When you realize the dollar's buying power, meaning your dollar becoming more worthless every day, when you really internalize that, the price of Bitcoin is never an issue to you. Okay? So let's continue on with what we're seeing here, and we're going to be diving in to some TA here in just a few minutes. But why the crypto pullback? Well, Besant, the Secretary of the Treasury, says we're not going to reprice gold, which I still do not understand why they would not reprice it anywhere, at least somewhere near the current price of what it is, especially with how bad our debt is. Why would you not value a major reserve of something anywhere near the value that it's at? Do you guys realize the gold in Fort Knox has not been revalued since about $41, $42 per ounce? Gold is $3,300 or more an ounce right now. Why would you not reprice that? The only reasoning I could come up with is not all the gold is there, or something is hinky about that setup. Besant also said, this more pertains to why we're seeing Bitcoin pull back, is the fact that they basically acknowledged, and I don't know if this is just a PR play to drive down the price of Bitcoin or what, but they said they're not going to be buying Bitcoin. The US government is not going to be buying Bitcoin for the strategic Bitcoin reserve. They basically are just not going to sell what they've confiscated. Now, this is a pretty big switch from, hey, we're stacking into 1 million Bitcoin to, oh, we've got, about 200 and something, about 200,000 Bitcoin. We're just not going to sell it. That's an 800,000 Bitcoin difference. Okay. So I think there's a lot of expectations about the US government purchasing. And this comment, I think, shook some of the long-term conviction with people on that. And if that's not the case, then these are just big market manipulation games in order to control the price of Bitcoin not exploding. In addition to that, we got the PPI print today, which is the Producers Price Index. Think about how much things cost at the store. Why do they cost that? Because there was a change in how much it costs to produce them. So the production happens, and then it's shipped, and then it's sold at the store. If it starts costing more to produce, it starts becoming more expensive at the store. So this is a leading indicator about potential increases in prices down the road. This is something that, especially considering that everybody's wanting these rate cuts and everybody's been waiting on, are the tariffs actually going to drive up inflation? And everybody's been saying, well, it hasn't affected inflation so far. Well, this just happened 3 months ago. These things take time to actually show themselves, having an impact on what's happening at production, at cost, at trade, at the consumer level. So maybe there's an impact here. Now people are wondering, are we still going to get a rate cut in September? Are we still scheduled for 2 or 3? Well, let's pull it up. We type in CME Fed Watch right here, Fed Watch tool, and we can see what the broader market, the professional minds out there that are really trading into this, still shows that there is a 90% chance of a rate cut in September. And then if you come into October, we see that there's basically right up to about 95% that there will be a rate cut, but then also 54% chance of a second rate cut in October. So this is December, actually. Yeah, no, that's correct. That's October. So there's still expectation that we're going to be getting rate cuts. So let's see how this plays out. Okay. Now, continuing on, we got that. We talked about this. Okay. The market's crashing. Well, from Kevin Svensson, friend of the channel, friend of mine, points it out perfectly here. We're going to want to see how this breaks down, but what we're seeing here is the bears really taking advantage of the negative news. When you see a bearish candle like this with the long wick, which is this very skinny portion, this shows how far the price traveled on this candle on this time frame. So the 4-hour candle, in this 4-hour period, the bears brought it all the way down to here, and the bulls said, I don't think so, sir. And they ate it right the way back up. So although this is a bearish candle, this is potentially setting up as the bears tried, the bulls are taking back control. We want to see what happens in the next 2 or 3 or 4 consecutive 4-hour candles. We may be setting up for this just being a bear trap and then coming back up and continuing higher. Most people already forgot what a bull market looks like. That's what I've been talking about. The rise, retrace, continuation, but let's see how it plays out. This is standard price action. Welcome to the bull market. Dips are for buying. Now, continuing on from here, I want to make sure that stays bookmarked so I can keep track of it. Okay, the market pulling back. US maybe not buying Bitcoin, but we also see Google taking an 8% stake in Bitcoin miner. And the Bitcoin miner is TeraWulf, which has some nuclear mining facilities and some other things that they're doing, which let's consider what's happening with the administration right now, softening the regulation in regards to energy production, especially also opening up the ability to utilize nuclear power, which is going to be something that's going to be very important with all of the Bitcoin mining, but also all of the AI data centers. And the processing, the compute is going to require an enormous amount of energy, which we've already seen a large rise in the needed use of energy currently, and they're only scaling this up. So not only is this a major play for some of these change in the administration energy policies, but also they're taking a stake in a Bitcoin miner. This is massive, massive. So we still have bullish things to look out for, although the U.S. isn't buying. Let's remember, even though the U.S., let's say they never buy an additional Bitcoin from what they've confiscated so far. Do you realize the mission of Bitcoin is for the people, by the people, outside of the system? The fact that we have BlackRock, great. The fact that we have Fidelity ETF, great. The fact that we have MicroStrategy and MetaPlanet, great. But at the end of the day, this network is meant to bank the unbanked, to transmit without the limitations of government policy, to participate in a monetary system that is outside, that is agnostic to terrible government monetary policy. So if the U.S. decides to buy, great. If they don't, well, then c'est la vie. I'm buying, you're buying, we're looking for our future. I don't care if another corporation buys or not a single additional government takes a stake. It doesn't matter to me because this network is going to absolutely eat a sizable amount of the global finance sort of pie as we move forward because of the way that it's set up at an inverse relationship to the money printing. This has a fixed cap. It's incredibly scarce. The world's waking up to it. So let's just keep stacking. Now, continuing on, we got a couple other things, and we're getting right into the TA. Now, right here, yes, Bitcoin has made a new all-time high and it's crashing. But as it's crashing, it's actually very much still within this beautiful range here we see from TXMC Trades. Make sure you're following him. But we're right in this sort of mid-range all the way back into July. This point of control, the POC is point of control, the area at which the most volume, the most Bitcoin at what price traded hands. And it's right here. And this is right where this is retraced down into. Still very bullish until we really break through this, reject, and start coming down, testing these lows. I'm not worried at all in the near term. In the long term, I have zero worry. In the midterm, meaning in the next, few weeks, maybe into the next month, depending on how this news story plays out and how the market really reacts to it, then we might have a little bit more of a slump in price action, maybe going in through September, maybe, but I still think that we're going to have a large impulse to the upside, whether it be later this year or maybe even the early part of 2026. I still think, I would guess right now that this is more of a washout before we actually continue higher in the near term. So let's be adaptable. Let's not let our emotions take the best of us, and let's let it play out. And we can look for areas that if we want to buy the dip or just stop stressing ourselves the hell out and go outside and throw a frisbee, pet your dog, take your girlfriend or boyfriend out, watch a movie. You don't need to live inside a Bitcoin chart. The Bitcoin chart, the price action, is going to do what it's going to do. One thing you can guarantee is there's money printing. The second thing you can guarantee is bad government policy. The third thing that you can guarantee is Bitcoin takes advantage and exploits those negative things for positive gain into the future. That's what we need to realize. Hard to trust any influencer that took payment from Polkadot and promoted Polkadot. Well, you know what? Why? I don't know why you say that. But it's hard to trust anybody anywhere. The heat map is pretty clean right now. Let's look at it. Boom. I almost typed Polkadot. I have that up right here. Let's see. Right here. CoinGlass. Let's look at the liquidation heat maps, actually. So let's go out to the 3-day. Boom. 1 week. Here we go. All right. Let's see. Come on. Where's that? There we go. Get the map out there. Let me refresh this real quick. There we go. So on the very near term, 24 hours, we got liquidity piling up above and below. This feels like they're kind of more taking advantage of the loss of near term, short term, meaning over the next day or two, confidence, and just taking advantage of liquidity on both sides. So let's see how this plays out. But if you zoom out on this chart a little bit and see this right in here, let's say on the 1 week, let's look at where the liquidity is. So remember, I talked about this last week that there was a lot of liquidity down here. Although this was pushing higher, that there was a lot of liquidity down below the price action that we were at. And got up. Sometimes it feels like, no, that's never going to happen. Well, in this case, it did. It came all the way back down. And now we got new longs coming in as well. How do I know that? Because you see this kind of light, this purple into kind of lighter color, kind of lighter color, kind of lighter color, and then a bright yellow. You see, this is $222 million, almost $223 million in liquidity just below us at 117,280. Now, the next one up right here is only, it's about 112 million, which we're tapping into right now, but there's quite a bit more right below us. So if you see this, if you're so worried about the price action moving to the downside and you wonder if it goes down further, it's over, but then you look at this liquidation heat map, which you can find for free on coinglass.com. Coinglass.com. Come up here, search for right here, liquidation liquidation heat map, and then you can come down here and look. In this case, I'm looking on the 1 week chart, and you can see where there's estimated a lot of liquidity, people trading on leverage, and the market tends to go down or go up and scoop out that liquidity because it's free liquidity. If they can push the price down into this, these are people betting long, then they can force them, these people betting long, they can force them to sell. And if the market shows, like we saw on the 24 hour with these very bright yellow lines above, if they push up into these are people shorting. It forces them to buy. So this is what happens, or either buy or they have to close their positions, which is still a buy. A short forced closure is a buy. A long forced closure is a sell. So these areas provide you a sort of good guardrails, boundaries of where market, like a magnet for where price action may move into. So just be aware of that. Now, continuing on, let me move this up here so I can actually, oops, put that's wrong. Let me move. I'm just trying to be able to see your comments on both streams. There we go. All right, cool. I can see it on both screens now. So I'm trying to pay a lot more attention to y'all's comments and make sure I hit every super chat. And if you guys have requests, I want to make sure to hit those. And I want to interact with you guys a lot more in here. So cool. That is, so looking at this, we see no clear signal on this other than it kind of looks a bit equal. There's a little bit more people shorting above us, but let's look at a couple other things. We're going to dive into the TA. Today's fear is spiked across the board. This is from Kevin Svensson. I've never seen a crypto cycle end where everyone turned bearish on the first red candle at the top and everyone was right. I very much agree with what he's saying here. I think the fear in the market right now is unfounded. I think it's ridiculous, and I appreciate it because it means that it's going to provide us some good buying opportunities or some time outside the charts to spend with friends and family. Now, continuing on, we also see, looking at the days since cycle bottom. We haven't looked at this chart in a while, and this is measuring the last 3 cycles all the way down to the low of each of the last 3 cycles and overlaid those with the days since. And you see, this is really tracked pretty darn close. It was right in the middle here, deviated down on the last cycle, deviated up on this cycle, came right back to the median. Now this kind of ran up a little bit and came back down, but either way, this doesn't need to get to the same point on the chart where these are, but we're looking at the shape. We see the shape of these angling to the upside. This is the 2017 cycle angling sharply to the upside. We still have time in this, even if you're looking at this at a 4-year cycle measurement. It's my assumption. It's a theory. It's an assumption. It's my assumption that the 4-year cycle is not going to hold true this cycle. Now, what's going to wreck people on this is if we get into October, November, and we have a sell-off, which I think we will. There's going to be a lot of people that take profits, which is fine. You should be taking profits, but they're going to take more sizable profits than they probably should for this reason. The market will pull back, and then it will reverse without hitting anywhere near the dip that they were looking for to re-enter. People are still expecting that there's going to be a 70 or 80% pullback this cycle. Maybe there is. It's my assumption, the way I'm looking at this market, with so many things lining up in favor of this market opening up for a longer duration, this cycle, stair-stepping up with the corporate buying, with the US Bitcoin, with the corporate Bitcoin treasuries, with now the Ethereum corporate treasuries, with the integrations with the Genius Act and the Clarity Act, and what we're seeing with the market structure bill that is giving the go-ahead, all systems go for corporations to integrate, utilize, and deploy stablecoins, blockchains, tokenized assets like stocks, like we're seeing with Ondo and Injective and Solana and Avalanche. And chainlink being that integrative protocol that's giving proof of reserves for stablecoins, but also doing basically the proof of data aggregation for tokenization, making sure all data is succinct across different chains and the cross-chain interoperability protocol. The world is opening up. So I see a dip later this year, but I see a continuation into 2026. The dip is what's going to really ruin people because they're going to expect a much deeper dip, and I just don't see it happening. Pushing all-time high volume too. That's right, objectively, real reality, objectively. So this is very bullish to me to understand this. Even on the 4-year cycle, we still have a lot of room to the upside. All the on-chain data that I look at to identify cycle tops, none of them are firing. So I'm very bullish about where we're going from here. In fact, we see another similarity here with 2017. Remember, I've told you for the last year and a half that I feel like this cycle is going to emulate what we saw in 2017. Now, this, of course, had a bit steeper trajectory, but it also had an exponentially smaller market cap. But what we're seeing here is the capital spike twice, reset back down to zero both times, and then look, the first impulse up, smaller than the previous, back to zero, larger, larger, larger. What do we see? The double top on the capital inflows, how much money's pouring into this asset. The retrace back to zero both times, one time, two time. And then the next spike up being lower than the one before. So nothing has changed in this sort of capital flow comparison on Bitcoin for where we're at in this cycle. That's just another point to understand. Now, looking at what we're seeing on the market. Let's go to Bitcoin and talk about it. It feels like the end of the world because we're getting a pullback. It's not. It's a shakeup currently on what the expectation is from the US government buying Bitcoin. Well, I don't think this changes a single thing about what it means for Bitcoin's future. We have an exponentially growing number of corporations and institutions that are building into Bitcoin strategies, whether they're buying Bitcoin directly, whether they're getting Bitcoin ETF exposure, or whether they're buying Bitcoin proxies like MicroStrategy exposure or MetaPlanet or some other Bitcoin treasury company. We're seeing corporate stacking of Bitcoin go exponential. We even see Harvard, which said it was more likely Bitcoin was going to break down to $100 only a few years ago than go higher. And now what have they done? They flipped the script on that and they've got over 155 million or something dollars in Bitcoin exposure. We see Norway getting, their national reserves for Bitcoin exposure. We see Bhutan mining Bitcoin. We see El Salvador. We see Argentina and Brazil. The list is just getting longer and longer for corporations, ultra high net worth individuals at the most basic retail level, and governments. What is there to be scared of other than not having dry powder on the sidelines that if you do get a dip that you can buy and add to your position? That's what my question for you. Crypto Princess, God dang it, Crypto Princess. We still need to do that interview. Hey, hit me on, shoot me a message on my X, at Kelly Kellam. I'll get that scheduled later today for sure. We can find something in the next couple weeks. Shout out to everybody that's here. I do appreciate y'all. We got 2,614 people watching between X, Rumble, and YouTube. Wherever you're watching right now, just do myself and the crypto community at large a favor. Throw a thumbs up on this. You will let the media machines, YouTube, X, and Rumble, you'll let them know that you are engaging with crypto content, which makes those data points stronger for them. And it also helps us out here. It's a very easy way that you can help, contribute to what we're doing. Let me get a follow on X, Kelly. I'll follow you as soon as we get done. It says at Real Crypto Crank. I'll definitely give you. I can't believe I'm not following you actually. Now let's talk about some other things here too, because we talked about the total 3, but Ethereum, guys, Ethereum is actually holding up a bit better. You know how I know that? Because you look at ETH to Bitcoin pairing. Look, no real dip at all. We got a tiny dip there. Boom, came right back up into it. Perfect. So Ethereum is still signaling a lot of strength in the alt space, despite the Bitcoin might not have the US buying it. It's over. That's nonsense. Bitcoin's going to do well regardless. If we get a really deep dip here, can you imagine how thankful we'll be? Bitcoin is still going to hit $1 million. It's still going to hit $10 million. Now, that's not going to be for several years and then many years beyond that for the million and 10 million. But when we're still sitting here at these prices, hovering around this $112,000 to $125,000 range, this is a gift to be able to stack as much as possible right now before the world fully adopts and integrates all of these things. We are still so early in what we're seeing in this market. and where it's going. So Ethereum got just shy of its previous all-time high. Look at this. This got all the way up here into the mid 4700s. We see this on this chart right here. Look at this. Came almost right into the all-time high. But what do we typically see? Whether it's an all-time high or not, when you have previous price action that has highs, you tend to get some little hiccups. In this case, it hiccuped and then launched right through. But you can see in other cases, look at this. This is where it peaked, and then look, came back up there, rejected again, kind of bull trap up, rejected again. So we see regular rejections at where price previously rejected until you get the strength where you take all the liquidity and the fear away from that, people willing to sell, and then the market slices right through. In this case, it got rejected again, but then boom, sliced right through. So what we're seeing right now, regardless of this being an previous all-time high back from November 2021, ignore the fact that it was an all-time high. It's a previous resistance point. In this case, it was the key resistance of the top of the market that it had ever gotten, but same thing, horizontal resistance of where price action previously was not able to get through. So price action coming up into it, this is a normal thing to get rejected the first time we touch it. Great, giving us some better opportunity. And then you see Link. Oh my God. And remember, I just want to call this out for those of you that have been tuning in to the member stream on Tuesday. And also, I think I talked about this yesterday as well. I was like, man, yeah, there's a bull flag, but there was weakness here. Remember, we were talking about the bearish divergence that was developing here. I think it was on the 1 hour. No, it was on the 4 hour. Yeah, the bearish divergence right here on RSI, meaning the strength is weaker here while the price went higher. The money flow is weaker here. There's smaller amount of money flow where price was higher. I said this could, although this feels like a bull flag, the bearish divergences could be signaling a move that will flush down into the low 20s. And look at this. This came right down into the low 20s, 2150, 2160 region. We talked about this. If you guys were here for that, if you understood it, throw a 1 in chat, because I called this to a T. Ondo, I talked about the breakdown from the bearish divergence on money flow and RSI potentially coming down to retest into this region. It did. It's giving us a gift right now back at the dollar range. Gift. In fact, I want to add some more to my position to Ondo with it at these discounted levels. And then we see BNB. Okay, nice move here. Kind of looks like Ethereum where you had a pretty big washout and it came right back up, meaning the bulls ate this right back up. But there was bearish divergence on the money flow, but not quite, maybe very weak bearish divergence on the RSI. But the market is seeing just a little bit of hiccups right now. Aerodrome. We talked about this potentially coming down and testing down into the low 120s. And look at this, came right down to 125 and came back lower. We even talked about this potentially coming down into this 118 and 115 in this zone right in here. So all of this was expected. Why? Same thing we saw in the other altcoins. We had a bearish divergence leading into this. As bullish as it is, we got a new all-time high in Bitcoin yesterday, and ETH is holding up. It doesn't mean that alt season is canceled and all your alts are going to crash now because you're getting a pullback, because all of this was telegraphed on the 4-hour charts on many of these coins. There was bearish divergence coming into this, and then we get a news story today that shakes up the market. It's because of the news story. Ignore the news story, because we also saw the data in the charts that was signaling that. We got Cardano. Not quite a bearish divergence there. Look, RSI got much stronger, but a little bit of a sell-off, but look at where it's holding so far. Right on this trend line. Look, came right down into it. Currently bounced back above it, but it's looking like it's trying to test a little bit lower. What does it look like on the 1 hour? Okay, looking kind of weak here. Our money flow is coming down. If this loses this level, I'm expecting this to come back down into the mid 180s and likely coming down into 83, about 83 cents. Solana. Now, I'm not joking. I didn't add anything to these charts since my streams yesterday and the member stream I did the day before that. We circled this area as an area that Solana might come back down to. Why? Because we had bearish divergence. The strength was weaker. The higher this is, this purple, the higher the strength is in the market. The lower this is, the weaker the buying pressure is in the market. So what we're seeing here is price action was going higher while the strength was lower and the money flow evaporated. Look at this, money flow evaporated in Solana here. And what we talked about the target back to about the 185 region. Where did this come down to? Right about 186.55. We broke this down. Now, what else do we you wanted to look at render. I saw you. I think it was Objectively Real asked about that. I haven't looked at render in a while. Let's look at render USDT. 3-day, weekly, double click there. Okay. So we got a downtrend. Let's delete this. I don't even know what that was. We got a downtrend into what looks to be like a fairly bullish pattern with some ugliness in it. Here we go. So we had a deviation above, but why do I think this trend line is still relevant? Because the deviation above, you see, there we go. Rejection, support, even though it broke through, support, adding veracity, truth to this trend line, and then rejection. So we have a falling wedge here, which is quite bullish. This is on the weekly. Now let's get down into the 4 hour. Let's get into the nitty gritty, baby. So, I mean, you see, look at this. This is holding. Yeah, let's see. We got a bit. It's kind of, let's see. Option F, bottom to top. Now look at this. So look at where this, from low to high, the price rejected at the trend line that we saw. And where did it come down to? It bounced on the 382 right here. Came back up and then lost it, went right to this lower trend line that we have that also happens to be the golden pocket. And there was a W formation right in here, came down, retested the neckline, bounced back up. If this loses this neckline, I'd be watching immediately back down to about 343. And if that's lost, then I'm going to be watching down into 297 as the next target to the downside. Again, if we get a little bit of a pullback in the market, like we're seeing on Render, like we're seeing on Aerodrome, potential moves for downside, Ondo, potential moves to downside. It's Solana as well. If we get those small downside actions right now, when the overwhelming narrative in the crypto market is bullish, we need to be thankful for those opportunities and thankful that we are educating ourselves and giving ourselves the tools, or watching people that are helping us see the tools available to identify dip buying opportunities. But dips are only worth buying if you're able to hold through what's going to happen, but also if you're able to cut your losses if it's a terrible trade. You got to make sure you educate yourself on the difference between those. It's one thing cutting losses because there's just a washout and then the market rebounds, versus, oh, I made a very terrible decision and I'm willing and able to cut out of this, not being married to a bag. But I love you guys. We got a member stream this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern time. It'll be, I'm going to be doing it through the private unlisted link here on YouTube. It's scheduled in Discord, but even those Discord people, I'll give them that private link because they're part of the Discord community. But you guys, if you're a BitLab member on this channel, you will get access to that. So turn on your notifications on this channel. And in order to do that, all you got to do is make sure you're subscribed here, and then make sure it says subscribe. Look below this video right now and turn on your notifications. I will post it publicly here on the YouTube, not on my X, and it'll be right here in the posts section. Yours might say comments, but you will not see it unless you have your notifications turned on. So I will see you all there at 3 p.m. Come with some requests for some coins. We'll break it down. If you have questions about different indicators or signals or anything like that as well, it's all about, giving you guys a better knowledge and giving you guys what you need, what you want. But I love you guys. I appreciate you all. Hope you all have an absolutely wonderful day. And I'll see you in the next one. I'll see you in the member stream as well. But I'll see you tomorrow for the rest of you. Adios, muchachos. Adios, muchachos. Thank you for coming. Thank you for always tuning in. Adios.